Hello and welcome. I'm Osama Nazal. Today we are really glad to have with us Dr. Varsin Agabikan Shaheen, Palestine's Minister of Foreign Affairs and Expatriates. She is not just a politician, she is an academic, a human rights advocate, and someone who has been at the heart of diplomacy and planning for years. She has worked in universities, health strategies, negotiations, and has always been a strong voice for Palestinian rights on the global stage. Dr. Varsin, thank you very much for being with us at such a critical moment for Palestine.
Thank you for hosting me and thank you for the great introduction.
You're welcome. Dr. Varsin, you have become the Minister of the Palestinian Foreign Affairs and Expatriates at one of the darkest chapters in the history of the Palestinian people, as the Israeli occupation is committing genocide against our people in Gaza, military escalation and settlers' violence in the West Bank, and the colonial project is increasing in East Jerusalem. So how did you feel when you received the letter of your appointment for this post?
Yes, indeed, it is one of the darkest moments in our history, and as such, I was privileged to be able to participate in such a difficult time, because I believe that Palestine needs all of us, wherever we are, in whatever we can. And if you're entrusted with a responsibility as big as I have been at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, I wouldn't have said no. I embarked on this knowing that it's a very difficult period in our lifetime, but adamant to make a difference, because we need that difference and Palestine deserves everything we can give.
Yeah. And when you got the news of your appointment, what was the first idea that crossed your mind?
What can I do different? How can I make a difference? What is needed? How can I garner more support from everybody around me? I mean, 100 things crossed my mind. And I'm still grappling with issues that I need to deal with. But every day that passes gives you more strength and gives you more push towards making it happen. Because I know that one day, we will be free. And we've worked for our freedom for a long time, each one of us in their own way. Yes. I mean, I was in academia, and academia, we were struggling as academicians. I was in a negotiations department, and I used to see how difficult it was to negotiate or prepare the background documents needed for negotiations. But deep in my heart, I know that one day we will make it.
Yeah, you mentioned negotiations, and I think that the Palestinians' understanding of the concept of negotiations should be different, because when there was negotiation between the Palestinian side and the Israeli occupation government, we know these negotiations were between two parties. The first party is almost powerless, only the power of right we have as Palestinians, while the other party, the Israeli occupation, has all the military, economic, and media power. So how do you define negotiations from a Palestinian perspective?
You know, right is not enough. Yes. I mean, we have the right. We know that by international law we have the right, but it's not enough, because today what rules is very much the power that you have. And we all know that we weren't on par with the Israeli side, but there was a lot of homework that needed to be done. And as technical persons at the negotiations department, we were trying our best to provide the background, the documents that were needed by the negotiators. Unfortunately, we all know that Israel's intent was not to negotiate in good faith. And we've seen that there were no negotiations for almost 2 decades. Yeah. I mean, the last round of negotiations was in 2008, and we had a few months of intensive diplomacy in the 2015, 2014, but aside from that, no real negotiations. And working at the negotiations department was extremely frustrating, because you work, and nothing moves. In fact, what we have seen is more entrenchment of this occupation, more suffocation of our lives, and it was very demoralizing at times.
Yeah, and today the situation is much worse as the Israeli occupation is trying to uproot the Palestinians from their homeland, as we see how the people in Gaza are genocided. And the people in the West Bank are suffering much today because of the military escalation, because of the Israeli settlers' violence, and they are installing more and more iron gates at the entrances of the Palestinian towns and villages. So given this very complicated situation, Dr. Varsin, do you trust that diplomacy can do something?
Yes.
How?
Yes. I don't want to go into despair, and I don't wish any Palestinian to despair, because if we go into desperation, we will lose it. We need to continue working, even though it is hard and it's very challenging. Because without that, without seeing a light at the end of the tunnel, everything will be very dark. And if you lose hope, and you go into hopelessness and helplessness, what benefit will you get out of that? Nothing. So I know that we have the people, we have the right, we have the law, we have our story, we have our case. People are changing around the world, and this has not come, freely.
Yeah.
People needed to work for us to be where we are. Today we have this genocide, and the blood of the Palestinian people means a lot, and it has done a lot in terms of changing the mood worldwide. But also we cannot ignore that the diplomatic effort throughout the past years was also active in also changing the narrative on Palestine and placing Palestine where it should be in the international arena.
Yeah, we know that the international system is controlled by the capitalist and imperialistic mentality, which believes just in money and economic power, but they don't care about the power of the right that the people of Palestine have. So when you receive international delegations, Dr. Varsin, and you have this in mind, you must have this in mind, how do you handle such conundrum, such problem, that you're dealing with the people who believe in materialistic power, while the Palestinians, the power they have is the power of right?
I think the narrating your story means a lot. Yeah. I know it from experience. The international community wants to hear you speak their language. I'm not saying in terms of speaking English. Yeah. Their language in terms of the terminology that they would accept, the way you frame things, and that makes a big difference with the international community. Today, when they see people like us, we speak in a very calm manner. We present the facts. We make comparisons. We bring examples from, historical examples from all over the world. I think that makes a difference. And we need to show people that we are a people who deserve to live.
Yeah.
And we were not created as violent people, and it's not in our DNA. Violence is not in our DNA. We have a context that has made us present ourselves in the way we present ourselves. And I believe the more we present ourselves in this manner, the more changes we see in the international community.
Now, when you receive European and Western delegations, okay, do they say something for you during the closed room negotiations or meetings, let me call it, and they change when they go out and when they meet with the Israelis?
I hope they change when they meet with the Israelis. But I know that I have been in meetings several times, and I know that the person that I have met initially at the beginning of the meeting is not the same person that left the room. And I see it in their eyes, I see it in the way they nod, in their body language. And the more you present the examples from your daily life, the better it resonates with people.
Yeah, but at the same time, we notice that when these people are in official position, their language is different than
behind closed doors.
No, when they leave office, okay, yes, and when they become like ordinary citizens. So why do you think this happens with them?
Because it's the policy of the governments they work in. I mean, there is a foreign policy for each state. And we know that, for example, foreign policies of various EU countries 2 years ago are not the same as today. And we have seen the shift.
In what sense?
We have seen the shift in terms of how they look at the Palestinian problem, how do they think the solution of the problem should be. For example, if we look at Germany or Belgium or Britain, I mean, 2 years ago, what they used to say is not what they say today. I mean, today we are garnering support from all over the world in terms of recognizing Palestine. I mean, even Germany has said things about dealings with Israel, which they have not been able to say 2 years ago. But today they're questioning. I mean, if we look at the EU, for example, Israel Association Agreement, 2 years ago we were begging for them to look at the agreement and see where there are violations so they do something about it. But 3 months ago, they asked for the review. They did not take measures. Today, 3 months later, they are saying we will take measures. So incrementally, we're moving into the right direction.
Yeah, but don't you think that the process is down slow?
Yes.
We see our people are being killed every minute, and they are just still reviewing the association agreement.
Very slow, long overdue, but better late than never.
Okay, we are talking about the policy of Europe and the West. What about the policy of the Arab world and the Arab governments? How do you evaluate that in light of the situation that we are passing through as Palestinians today?
Of course, we expect more. We always expect more because we are the ones under the heat on a daily basis. We have a genocide ongoing in the Gaza Strip. We have the violations on the West Bank, and we are just sick and tired of this occupation. We've been under occupation for too long, and we just want to be free. So we would want the whole world to come to our rescue. But today I should say that the Arabs are individually and collectively maybe more concerned than ever. And I think this concern stems from the fact that today they see the threat on the whole Arab world.
Yes.
It's not just the threat on the Palestinians, and we've seen it. We've seen it from Netanyahu's statements and his government statements on the annexation and the expansion to the rest of the Arab world, infringing on the sovereignty of other countries. We've seen them attacking Qatar.
Yes.
It's not only attacking the sovereignty of Qatar, it is attacking a negotiator and a mediator.
Yes.
And this is something unheard of in history. So today it's hitting home. And it's hitting very hard.
Yeah.
So we see them collectively concerned when the talk was high and still is on the displacement of Palestinians and making them refugees all over. I think there was a very quick and strong stance from all the Arab countries, also individually and collectively, on no to displacement, because we all know what that does to the security of the region at large.
Yeah. Dr. Varsin, if we ask any ordinary Palestinian citizen about the outcomes of the Arab Islamic Summit held in Qatar days ago, the people would say that it is, like nothing. These outcomes don't contribute to even alleviating the suffering of the Palestinian people. Now, as the Palestinian Foreign Minister, how do you see these outcomes?
Look, I know most people are disappointed because what they say is, we've heard the denunciation many times, the condemnation, we've heard it. But what does it do on the ground? Would it end the war tomorrow, the genocide on Gaza? No, it doesn't. But I tell you what, I think the being there all together, all the statements that we heard, there was a consensus on that the framework is international law, the framework is non-compliance of Israel with international law, the violations and the crimes that Israel was conducting on a daily basis, and the need to move on. To me, there were two areas that drew my attention. One area was the ask from everybody to look at the political and economic dealings with Israel, to review that and see what can be done in vis-a-vis what is happening. And the second one, which is new, is to look at Israeli violations and to see what can be done in terms of freezing Israel's membership at the UN. I think these are small things for now. They do not end the genocidal war, but these are things that we can build on and take further.
Yeah.
And to me, we can work incrementally. I think we want a lot.
Yeah.
Today we can have this much. Let's try to enlarge whatever we have at hand.
And Dr. Vasin, we heard many European leaders concerning the recognition of the state of Palestine. As you mentioned, Britain, France, Belgium, many other countries really. And I'm not undermining the importance of this from a political perspective, but when it comes to the reality, to what we have on the ground, those people who believe in the right of the Palestinian people and they are going to recognize the right of the Palestinian people to statehood, they don't take concrete actions to stop as genocide against the Palestinian people. So don't you feel that there is a gap between their statements and real action?
Okay, again, people might think that recognition is symbolic, and of course, it will not end the genocidal war tomorrow. Even if 20 countries recognize on the 22nd, the war might not end.
Yes.
However, this recognition in itself will strengthen the legal position of the state of Palestine. It sends us a clear message that we have a right for self-determination. And it sends a clear message to the Israelis, which is extremely important given their annexationist and colonialist ideology and approach, that this occupation needs to be dismantled. And it is in line with international law, and it is in line with the ICJ ruling, the last ICJ ruling. However, what's also most important is that with recognition come commitments. Come further commitments that each country that is recognizing needs to follow to show that they are helping Palestine in materializing on the ground. And we then need to take the New York Declaration and say, whoever recognized, whoever endorsed the New York Declaration, there are actionable items that you need to show us and be accountable to. This is your responsibility towards Palestine and towards international law.
Yeah, but Dr. Vasin, the people watching our show might ask this question. There are hundreds of resolutions issued by the United Nations, including 242, 338, 191, many resolutions recognizing the right of the Palestinian people to independence and to statehood on the land occupied in 1967. But nothing tangible is seen. So how the recognition of the state is going to change that?
Because as I said, with recognition come commitments. After the 22nd, and whilst everyone endorses the New York Declaration, under that declaration there are 42 items, and those items were very carefully crafted by several countries, because there were 8 groups working on the different themes. A group worked on the economy, a group worked on the legal aspects related to the 2 states, a group worked on the narrative of peace, a group worked on ending the war and reaching a sustainable ceasefire, the humanitarian assistance, etc., etc. So each country will be accountable to the actions under each item. For example, empowering the Palestinian Authority. Today we are begging for money from all over because we all know that our money has been pirated. The tax money has been pirated, and we have very small amounts to go by each month, and the economy is so hard. But empowering the Palestinian Authority means ensuring that there's at least a safety net, regular funding for that authority so that it keeps moving on and it keeps reforming and building its institutions. So this is the difference today. The difference is there are concrete actionable items that each country will be responsible for and accountable to.
Yeah. Of course, the whole world is aware of the financial crisis storming the Palestinian Authority. And just yesterday, there was like online meeting in which the advisor for the French President Macron, his advisor for Middle East and Africa affairs, said that we know the Palestinian children are not able to get back to schools because of the financial situation the Palestinian Authority is facing. But there is like a financial coalition now being formed in order to support the PA and to keep the Palestinian Authority institutions functional. Do you have any information or any how this coalition is going to work?
I think this will be formed soon, and what we are asking for is at least $200 million a month as a safety net so that it keeps us going. And there will be calls for states all over the world to chip in and participate in this funding venture, which is extremely important. If you want to materialize a state, you have to ensure that its government can survive and it can continue.
What states are members of this coalition?
Well, I think there will be France, England, other European countries who would be part of this.
Yes. Now, back to the issue of the recognition of the Palestinian state. The Israeli occupation officials have threatened a lot over the past few days that they are going to respond to that step. And I think they started. We see how they are installing gates everywhere now in the West Bank and every night invasion into the Palestinian towns. Are you afraid of these measures by the occupiers?
Look, Israeli measures are always very threatening, and they are real, because all of us have lived under occupation all our lives, and we know what Israelis can do. But they're doing it with recognition and without recognition. I mean, 5 years ago, the situation was not rosy. 3 years ago, it wasn't rosy. Yesterday, it wasn't rosy. And tomorrow, it won't be rosy. As long as there is occupation, we will continue to be threatened by the Israeli violations and unilateral measures. We will endure because today most of the world is with us. And most of the world will be with us with actions on the ground. And Israel needs to come to terms with the fact that it cannot continue suffocating our lives under occupation forever, because we will not accept to live under this apartheid regime and under such a brutal occupation forever.
But the reality feels grim, Dr. Varsin.
Yes, it is.
We see what's happening in the city of Gaza these days. The women, the children, all the people are either killed or they are cornered in very tiny areas. No food, no medicine, nothing. And the situation here, if we decide to travel from Ramallah to Jenin, we would see how difficult it is because of the Israeli gates and checkpoints and settlers' violence. So the ordinary citizen feels sometimes that the Palestinian people are abandoned alone, and the word relinquished them. Do you have such feelings sometimes?
Yes, all the time. The abandonment is there and has been there. But we need to corner the world, and we need to do whatever it takes to garner their support. And I think in the last few years, I don't want to say diplomacy alone, but the diplomacy has a lot to do with the support that we are garnering. The work of President Abbas in terms of the commitments he made to the world. In the letter he sent to President Macron and other world leaders, in which he committed to democracy, to elections, to reform, etc., etc. I think that put the ball in their corner. Now it is their responsibility. We are doing our homework. We have been asked to reform under the most difficult conditions. I mean, people ask us to reform, forgetting that we are under occupation. We have a genocidal war in Gaza. We have been living under the violations on the West Bank on a daily basis. We have no money, but we're still committed. And we're still doing whatever we can. And we will continue to do whatever we can, not because they want us to do it, because we believe that we deserve better and we need to improve our performance because we want to leave a legacy for our children of institutions that are effective, that are transparent, that are democratic. So regardless of the challenges, we will move. And now the ball is in the court of the international community to comply with international law, because they all have taught us human rights for years. Now it's their turn to show us how they implement what they say.
Yeah. And concerning the situation in Gaza, we see how aggressive the Israeli occupation against the city and the north now. Do you think that the Israeli occupation government is going to succeed in taking out the Palestinians from Gaza and the north and cram them in tiny zones in the south? And if this happens, I think that would be like the last nail in the coffin of the Palestinian statehood. What do you think?
Look, I think the Israeli policy has and is the same. It has been for decades the same.
Yes.
That of annexation and displacement since 1947-48. We have endured. But today what we are seeing is so brutal and atrocious that even you as a Palestinian cannot understand how this is happening. They want to cram everybody in a concentration camp. You know, in Gaza, it's one of the most populated areas in the world. And previously, about 5,000 people used to live in 1 square kilometer. Today, 50,000 live in 1 square kilometer. And that's not no life. And what they're trying to do is to make it so unlivable by destroying just everything. I mean, why would you destroy the high-rise buildings? I mean, one after the other. And we've seen it in the last 3 days. They want to push the Palestinians out. And this is the time, this is the test for everybody around the world. I mean, you talk. Now we need you to walk the talk.
Yes.
How much longer can the world see the Palestinian people brutally murdered in Gaza? How much longer? I think the cry in New York on the recognition and the additional steps and the world saying loudly to Israel, enough is enough. Even the friends of Israel are saying enough is enough. Germany is saying enough is enough. Belgium, France, these countries are all also friends with Israel. They can't take it anymore.
Yeah. And if you tell us about the latest contacts you made with international leaders and international governments in order to help stop the Israeli crimes against the people in Gaza.
We have contacts on a daily basis. On a daily basis, we have phone calls with foreign ministers, with the prime minister, with the prime ministers all over. The first item on the agenda, foremost priority, is stopping this war. Because we know every day that passes, we have hundreds of Palestinian civilians killed.
Yes.
And we know that this is aimless. The aim of Israel, what is the aim of Israel in this war? Today, now?
Maybe
it's
to
just
occupy
killing.
Gaza, to build settlements there?
But Gaza is occupied.
To build settlements? Just
I think they want to erase everything in Gaza. And yes, their vision of this Israel, the greater Israel, also encompasses Gaza and a Riviera in Gaza. But there are 2.3 million people in Gaza.
Yeah.
And would Israel dare to erase the 2.3 million people in Gaza? I mean, these are the questions to the world, to say that the situation is so threatening that you need to act now. You need to act yesterday, not now.
And from Gaza to Jerusalem, Dr. Farsin, and I know that you worked on the strategic plan for East Jerusalem in early 2000s. That the project, I think, was supported by the European Union.
Yes.
Now, we all saw the American Secretary of State, Mark Rubio, performing prayer at Ha'it al-Burak with the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. How do you see the American policy? Why it's so much against the Palestinian people national project and the Palestinian people aspirations?
Because they buy the Israeli and Jewish story. and they have a very strong Israeli lobby, and they have the Christian Zionists who believe that they need to support the state of Israel so that the return of the Messiah. This religious narrative is pushing many in the United States to be in total blind support of Israel.
Now, is it a religious narrative or use of religion for colonial
use of religion, the religious narrative, the lobby, the Israeli lobby, the Christian Zionists, the Israeli money? I mean, all of this makes it very challenging to change in the U.S. society. But we have experience working with churches, with Christian Zionists. There is some change, albeit it's very slow.
Yes.
But there is some change. But can we wait until that big change happens? No, we need changes right now. And we count that the world, all the powerful countries of the world, and today there are powerful countries that will be recognizing. Yeah. I mean, when you talk about Australia, you talk about Canada, Britain, France, these are powerful countries.
Yes.
And we also have Saudi Arabia that put all of its weight behind this. And it said very clearly that we will not move on the normalization track until there is a move on the political track, helping us materialize the two states.
Yeah. And my final question also about Jerusalem, and we saw how the Israeli occupation Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu endorsed E1 colonial project plan. And as I said before that, you put the strategic plan for East Jerusalem. So how do you see the future of the city of Jerusalem?
Look, Jerusalem is a city for all the people. I mean, all religions should enjoy Jerusalem. Jerusalem used to have a mosaic that wasn't found anywhere in the world. And that mosaic can come back. We have lived with Jews, Christians, Muslims, different ethnicities, Greeks, Armenians, you name it. That was part of the beauty of Jerusalem. We need to have that back. To me, Jerusalem is part and parcel of the occupied territory. But if I were a Palestinian and that was part of my state, I would have it as an open city for anybody in the world to enjoy. Today we are denied to worship in Jerusalem as Muslims and Christians, if we are West Bankers, let alone Gazans. And that's a crime. Because Jerusalem cannot be an exclusive city for one religion. Jerusalem has to be inclusive for all monotheistic religions. And to me, that's how Jerusalem would be in the future as the capital of Palestine.
Dr. Farsim, Palestine Minister of Foreign Affairs and Expatriates, had been great pleasure having you on our program. Thank you very much.
Thank you for hosting me.
Thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching. And if you like to keep in contact with us, please visit our Facebook and Instagram platforms at Palestine International Broadcast, and don't forget to click our website pip.news. Thank you very much and goodbye.